I'm not going to twist myself to try and not lose audience or try and win back certain people. I'm going to do what I do, which is the reporting, whether one person watches it or a million people watch it. And I do my best to sell it. But the truth is, when you have tech platforms that in their algorithm, what they recommend is based on, like we said, conflict, reactionary, food fights, more infotainment. I made a choice a long time ago to not go that way. I'm not criticizing anyone as a bad person for doing that, but I'm going to cover these stories and they're going to get the audience they get.
I got to say, this is one of the reasons that I actually respect Jordan Chariton. My main critique on him is, in my view, he is too soft in terms of his approach. My strategy would be much more aggressive, much more militant. He would say that I would be too harsh against people like AOC, for example. But I believe him knowing what I stand for, you would respect that my attack against AOC and a progressive squad is more a good faith as opposed to content, right? I'm not pandering to people that don't like the squad, constantly going after the squad. Every day the Democrats suck. I call out corruption wherever I see it. My content is not imbalanced, right? I don't do the CNN and MSNBC thing, right? Where you're talking a lot about one side, ignoring the other side. That is what a lot of the people that Jordan criticized, that's what they do. They do the MSNBC model, right? We're going to pander to an audience of people that are upset with the Democrats, right? We're going to see some really, really bad things being done by the Republicans, and we're going to ignore it. And then when you challenge us on it, we're going to come up with lame excuses like, oh, if you want to watch, you can watch MSNBC. They'll tell you, like, how are you going to say MSNBC is garbage? And then you're going to tell your audience that they should watch MSNBC to learn about the Republican corruption. And then the response to that is, my audience already knows how corrupt the Republicans are. Right.
They're fighting against police brutality. What do you think a low-budget YouTube channel trying to help the community and trying to build outside left power, what do you think it would look like?
But
so why?
Almost no one on YouTube is trying to build any community, help the community, whatever. Now, they're not satanic. They're not, some kind of demon spawn. So it's not that they don't have any desire to help the community, but it's about what the priorities are, right? So even if some part of them does actually want to help out, just like politicians like AOC, right? Even if AOC, part of her really wants to help out, her priority is her career. Her priority is her fame. Her priority is being an influencer. Based on her actions, that's the conclusion I come to. Just like a lot of these YouTubers. So even if somewhere inside of them, they want to help the community and they might actually do some stuff that's good here and there, the priority is views, money, fame, attention. And this is not just me just saying that. This is
I'm genuinely trying to ask.
This is me looking at their actions, right? Pattern of behavior that matches pretty much all across the media, right? Left wing, right wing, corporate, independent. This is generally what they all do. It's all about the views.
They're doing a lot more than we are.
Love to critique Donald Trump, but they won't critique Joe Biden. These guys treat Jimmy Dore just like MSNBC and CNN treats Joe Biden.
None of them cover what, at the time, I believe was the biggest fight on the left. If we're talking outside electoral politics, none of them were involved with it. None of them, were pushing their audience to get involved. None of them were covering it in the weeks before. After they won in Staten Island, I doubt most of your audiences knew, very soon after, they had a second election in Albany. They couldn't get any media coverage. None. You know who the only channel that covered it other than I? Breaking Points. So when we're talking about it,
So notice that he mentions that these workers were reaching out to Jimmy Dore to get him to cover these events. and they did not hear a response from Jimmy Dore. Right? Whatever you want to believe. Whatever you want to believe. The fact that he brings this up and neither one of these guys have the courage to basically say, well, I don't know why he didn't cover. Maybe he's busy or whatever. But I mean, that is a shame that he should have covered that because he has a lot of he has a large audience, and him covering these events could have been very helpful. I can't speak for him, but I think that's disappointing that he didn't respond. Like, you know what I mean? That's integrity. Like that's a response of integrity. But these guys refuse to concede anything.
We
I'm
don't
not
have
talking
the
about going.
resources
I'm
to
not
go
talking about going
find
out
that
there.
out.
I'm not. What do you mean find that out?
If the media is blacking it out,
Oh,
it is very
please.
difficult.
Well,
You just
if
said
you don't
there
have-
was no reporting on it.
Listen to, again, pay attention to the detail. Like if you like Jimmy Dore or you like these guys, you will not pick up on what is happening here. Rather than concede and admit that Jordan has a point here, he is responding with the lamest of lame excuses. We don't have the resources. They don't have the resources. So, what the hell does that mean, they don't have the resources? They have the resources to cover 100 videos about COVID. They got the resources to cover 100 videos about the squad sucks. They have the resources to cover how much the Democrats suck. But a major movement on the left is happening. And somehow, mysteriously, they don't have the quote-unquote resource. What resources are they talking about? And then he says the media is blacking it out. The media is blacking, like, again, this if you guys like Jimmy Dore, if you guys like these guys, I want you guys to put aside your feelings and think about the facts of the matter. The fact of the matter is the excuse that he's giving is absolutely absurd. Think about it for a second. Why is he saying he doesn't have any resources? And then why is he talking about media blackout? So, when the media blacks out certain details about COVID, right? When the media blacks out certain things, oh, you're not supposed to talk about this, and they try to censor it, but somehow you guys have the resources to cover that, right? All the other, I mean, that's a lot of these guys, that's their thing. They cover the stuff the media doesn't cover. Their whole channel will be based on covering things that the media is not covering, right? Oh, the media doesn't want to talk about this stuff. They're not saying this stuff. Like, CNN is not talking about this. That's their whole thing. That's the whole game. But for the thing that's one of the most important things on the left, that's the one thing. Well, it's a media blackout, and if the media doesn't cover it, we can't cover it because we won't know anything that the media doesn't know. What? So on everything else, you're doing the reporting that the media isn't covering, the quote-unquote media, mainstream media, they're not covering. You're going and showing people that stuff. But this one selectively, I need more resources. It's a media blackout. Why would he say something as ridiculous as this, other than he knows he's wrong, he knows Jordan's correct, and he's trying to save face and coming up with these lame, my dog ate my homework. Like, what?
Nobody covered Albany.
No, it exists. Breaking Point's covered it. I covered it. Like,
it
it exists.
Both
There's
stations
articles
with
on.
both
there's
stations with
articles.
resources. You have resources. What were you?
Again, why is he talking about resources? Let me just be very clear, because some people in their bubbles, they even after I explain it, they probably still don't get it. Okay, if these guys were really serious about a movement and left-wing this and whatever, all the left-wing ideology, we're trying to push a movement, whatever it is, we're trying to, move this country forward, whatever, right? If that was legit, then these worker strikes would be a huge priority. and they would not be looking for mainstream media to cover it so they can cover it, right? They'll be doing the same thing they do with all the other stuff they cover that the mainstream media doesn't cover, right? There is this website called Twitter. And if they were really serious about covering strikes, I know they were aware of, it's not like they weren't aware, they were aware of these strikes, right? All they would have to do is follow the people that are reporting on it via Twitter, right? You have the activists that are on the ground, right? Smalls is one of them. I mean, there's so many of these people. They would.
What were you doing?
They would see who they are, follow them on Twitter, and then, because think about it, how are these workers organizing these big strikes in secret, right? They're organizing in secret, and if the mainstream media isn't talking about it, how are we supposed to know? Like, what? Rather than just be honest that you're not covering this stuff, we get these lame-ass excuses. Oh, we don't have resources. You don't have resources to go on Twitter.com and look at people's feeds and say, hey, guys, and you see them say, hey, guys, we have a strike coming up, November, whatever, right? And then when you do your content, you say, hey, audience, there's going to be a strike at this date and this time. You know, this is what's happening. And then these people who are organizing these things, I'm sure they're putting out content, right? They may have videos on Twitter or on their YouTube channels, whatever it is. Maybe they have a small following. You got a bigger following, right? They got some little tiny channel with 2,000 subscribers. You got 10,000 subscribers, right? You can go to their channels. You can screen capture their videos, comment about it, share it with your audience. And you're sitting here talking to Jordan. Jordan's on the ground. He was covering all this stuff. So anyone that was really serious about this stuff, anyone that actually cared, they would know. Everyone knows on the left, in terms of left-wing media, everyone knows status quo, right? They're on the ground covering this stuff. So if you're really serious about this stuff, you don't need the mainstream media. You have a channel that is doing all this groundwork all over the country. This guy in this video even concedes that later on in the video. Not concedes it to like, point that Jordan makes. He initiates it himself. He says, you know, hey, you're a great, you know, resource. So he's aware. I know they were aware of these strikes, right? They know how to use Twitter. They could have followed whoever. I'm sure they probably were aware of what was happening. They made the decision not to cover that stuff. Now, coincidentally, the stuff that they're covering is stuff that would bring more views. Covering these strikes wouldn't bring as much views. So you can tell me whether that's a coincidence that across the board, it seems that the things that get covered are the things that get the most views, as opposed to the things that have the most meaning, right? Jimmy Dore, COVID, right? That's what's getting him views, so that's what he talks about. Strikes don't get as much views, so he doesn't talk about that stuff. So it seems like it's all about the money, which is the point. And then when you get challenged with this, oh, resources, oh, media blackout. I mean, you guys have to admit, even if you like Jimmy Dore, even if you like these guys, these excuses don't make any sense. Please comment in the comment section below and explain to me what resources they need to cover these strikes versus covering everything else that they cover. Everything else they cover that's not covered in mainstream media, how come they can cover that stuff? They have the resources for that, but they don't have a resource to cover one of the most important, the biggest deals. This was like one of the biggest accomplishments from the left, was all of these workers' strikes and worker movements. That was one of the biggest. How can anyone be a serious left-wing media channel and not focus much more on the worker strikes than the stuff that you see these guys generally talking about? This is not just a random thing. This is one of the biggest things that were going on. And then the excuse is okay.
No, I didn't say that.
Right. So what? You don't need resources to like surf out what's going on in the world.
Sometimes you need resources to know about certain things that are not being reported.
I think you're making excuses. I think
we
a lot of these things are out.
Look at this guy's being dishonest. Listen to what he said. Sometimes you need resources. The argument is this: this major movement was happening, and you weren't really aggressively covering it. You say resources, and now you're saying sometimes you need resources? Like, think about how lame of an excuse that is. Wow.
I'm talking about, it was out there for a year. Striketober, the workers' strikes. It was the most momentum. It was the most momentum the left had in a very Scar takes over the Lion King type of experience in the Biden age. And most of these channels, aside from maybe 1 or 2 videos, were barely covering it. I could say the same thing when the John Deere workers were out there. I know, because I covered them. I don't expect people to, go out there and report on the ground. That it's not a requisite thing. You don't have to do that. But I can't tell you how many stories I've covered where there's actual things happening and there's a chance of victory. And I go online and it's like the food fight between leftists and YouTubers and this and that, which I get your point. You're saying I do too and this and that. I don't think it's anywhere fucking close to the people we're talking about. But that's besides the point. My point is,
notice how he brings up, again, they're not gonna concede anything. He brings up a point. He says, so many times where the potential victory, like big moment rather, and he looks around and he doesn't see these other people involved. Like big major movements, left wing accomplishments, victories like around the corner, and these guys nowhere to be found. And what's the response? What's the response to that?
You actually have to get involved, and you actually have to, through the small independent media channels we have, cover it, get the workers on, put out the push people to fund it, push people to donate, push people nearby to get out there for the protests, shame the corporate media in not covering it.
No, I disagree with pushing people to donate. The people pushing to donate should be the activists, right? Because that to me is unethical, and that's basically where you're getting into propaganda, pretty much. I mean, if your point of your content is to move people to the left, you're trying to diminish, like all your content is how much the Republican Party sucks. How much the Democrats suck. Like, if you are trying to promote an ideology and demote another ideology, this is propaganda. And in getting into, I am covering this stuff and now I'm asking for people to donate, I don't think that's how it should be done. You have these people on and let them ask for people to donate. I think there needs to be a clear line between those in the media, that's what these guys are in. They're in the media business. Those that are in the media, and those who are the activists. Blurring the line between activists and media, I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I'm not for that. I am not for that at all.
Well, actually, that's what will actually accomplish things. Not this 24/7. Well, we didn't like Ryan Grimm's interview with Sh1T. I didn't. To be honest with you, I didn't see it. But we didn't like. So we're going to cover that. I just think there seems to be a
thoroughly covered on all these channels that you're talking about. I mean, that
we had people from the rail strike on
because Biden crushed it. That's the only reason it was covered.
Because
they don't cover the worker. They don't. I agree, but my point is they cover.
I went to Grand Central. I was standing right next to your.
He's not talking about us.
They cover things when there is a Biden angle, when there's a way to shit on the Democrats. They don't cover things when there's an act, when it's not sexy. When, in your words,
you see the body language of this guy when he said that. I'm pretty sure that both of these guys know that Jordan is 100% correct, but they're unwilling to admit the truth, right? Unwilling to admit the truth. And you see, and this is the thing, this whole, so they're going to go and say, oh, they did cover the rail strikes, as if they don't know the game. The game is anti-liberal content, which ironically is the same business model that right-wing media uses, right? All you're getting is the right-wing media business model with more integrity. That's the game that these guys play, right? Right-wing media is not conservative media. It's anti-liberal media. All they talk about all day is how the left sucks. And that is what a lot of these guys do as well, right? all day long, it's just how the left sucks. These guys are not the real left. The Democrats are not left. The progressives are not progressive. Right? The squad sucks. Right? That's all, what they're doing all day long. So, he wants to bring up, they covered the real, and then Jordan brings up a valid point. Why did they bring it? If your whole content is anti-liberal, like you're trying to say, no, we're left-wing and we cover things of substance. Right? That's what you're trying to say. But yet, you're absent for these strikes until there's an angle to attack the Democrats. Jordan's 100% correct on that. But they will not concede that.
Union videos or whatever, it won't get the views that his COVID stuff gets. It'll get 50 to 100,000 views. That matters. I could give you a perfect example.
I remember, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong about this. I'm pretty sure he interviewed the guy with the beard who was in the Union, the More Perfect Union ad. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. I'm not 100%.
Think about this for a second. Right? Put your feelings aside. Why is this guy bringing up a random video that Jimmy Dore might have made that he's not even sure about? Of what relevance is that to the conversation? You see the games that they play? Jordan is not making an absolute statement that they never, ever, ever cover this stuff. Right? Now, maybe in some of his words, he might get a little hyperbolic or exaggerating, but anyone with any kind of objectivity and comprehension skills can understand that the point he's making is that some of the most important things happening on the left are a very, very low priority. So, and I'll say it myself, a lot of the people that he's critiquing have had videos of substance, has covered some of these important things, and they will dishonestly bring that up as a point and try to challenge the point that he's making. And this is the same thing that you'll see right-wing media do. This is the same thing that you'll see, like, let's say if I go and I challenge CNN and I say, you're always attacking Donald Trump. You're always attacking the Republican. You never do the same thing for the Democrats. That's a false statement, right? But if I say that, they'll say, no, that's not true. We critique both parties. And they'll be technically true, right? It was CNN that went after Pelosi that one time. It was not only one time, but it's very rare, right? It was MSNBC that exposed Biden regarding Tara Reade, right? That's the mainstream media game. Let's argue exceptions. There might have been one video that Jimmy Dore did, but I'm not sure if he actually did it. Like, why bring it up? The only thing of relevance to challenge what Jordan is saying is if you can make a statement that, no, Jimmy Dore has done a lot of coverage of worker strikes. Like, that would be a response. The point is that this is a low priority and it hardly gets any coverage from Jimmy Dore, right? So saying he made one video or two video or three videos in a year doesn't make a point. That doesn't make any point in terms of a rebuttal or response to what Jordan is saying. So why do you think he's saying that? Why does he think that it's a good idea to bring up this random video he's not even sure about? The only reason to do that is out of desperation. If you know Jordan is correct and you don't have the integrity to concede that he's correct, you don't have the integrity to call out Jimmy Dore, Lord and Savior Jimmy Dore, for being the fraud that he is. So in that moment, you resort to, there might have been one video, like the lamest response ever.
Before my wife divorces me because I have to go.
No, I hear you. I feel that.
But I told her an hour and we're now 2 hours.
I know. That's the story of my life these past 4 years.
I'll give you an example. I just went to Kalamazoo. I've been covering this paper mill that's been poisoning this community for 6 months, but this was the first time I went. My tweet that I did with an 8-minute video did pretty well. It got like 50,000 views. But through my partnership with Breaking Points, they were nice enough to put a longer video up there that got 60,000 views. After that video, the governor of Michigan, the Michigan Health Department, and several other entities were shamed and dragged all over Twitter because it's the first time any platform with a big audience actually covered it. I mean, I was out there, but it was on their channel. 2 days later, a health study that they've been dragging their feet for 3 years. They've been dragging their feet for 3 years and they wouldn't release it. Two days later, they finally released this health study acknowledging that this plant is releasing toxic levels of hydrogen sulfide. The health department told one of the main activists, oh, we've been seeing the show you've been going on. I'm not saying this to give myself kudos or breaking points. I'm giving you the example that I don't expect people to cover doom, gloom, and the non-sexy things at all times. But if you could get, I know you're not to this level yet in subscribers, but if you could get some of these bigger channels to actually cover things that are important, not just cover them in passive, but actually get their viewers involved. I've seen it. When I was at TYT, the same thing happened. They didn't market me at all, but I had a bigger audience. I would give my audience phone numbers to mayors, city councils, this and that when they were doing the wrong thing. They'd fucking flood those numbers. And a couple days later, a week later, they reversed their decision on something. So my point is,
and I hardly see this from the Jimmy Dore squad people. It is so bad that one of the biggest propagandists, access journalist, Brian Tyler Cohen, I've seen do much more of that than any of these Jimmy Dore folks, right? Obviously, Forced to Vote being an exception. There was some really good work. But generally speaking, I hardly see any of this kind of stuff coming on Jimmy Dore's channel. Brian Tyler Cohen he's basically Dem Media, right? Not a lot of respect for him. He does quality content in terms of exposing the Republicans and all this kind of stuff. But it's one-sided, right? Won't go after the Democrats because he's basically in bed with the Democrats. That's how he gets access. I mean, this guy went all the way to the president. How do you think he got access to the president? But I've seen him do many videos where he will have like a phone number at the end or encourage people to take some kind of action, right? Brian Tyler Cohen, this guy. Wow.
fine. But make sure, bad phrasing, make sure you're giving them the broccoli, because maybe we just disagree. I personally, of all the issues in America and around the world, I don't personally think if Ryan Grimm is a real leftist is on the top of my list. I don't personally think if
here's a cold hard reality that I don't think any of these people will be willing to say. The type of stuff that Jordan Chariton is doing it's hard work. It's not easy. It's not popular. There isn't a huge demand for it. These people, Keaton and Russell and Jimmy Dore and a whole lot of them, they are not philanthropists or something. They're just regular people, right? They're not interested in making the kinds of sacrifices required to really build an effective movement, right? To go out there and cover stuff that there isn't a huge demand and see you're not really getting much views, see your AdSense money not coming in, right? But you do it anyway because it's really important to you. That's not these guys, right? They are doing the CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, TYT thing. Running businesses. For-profit businesses where they focus on where the money's coming in. Jimmy Dore has a huge following, right? And you are targeting his customers, right? That's the angle you decide to go, critiquing the left from the left. So being honest about how much of a fraud he is bad for business. So you'll see him being a fraud, and you will pretend not to see, because you want a chance to get on his channel. You get on his channel, you grow your audience. He promotes you, you promote him, he promotes you. It's a little click. Same thing right-wing media does, right? That's the reality. It's not a coincidence that these people do exactly what you'd want to do if your focus is on money and attention over actually pushing this country forward. They are entertainers, much like the entertainers in mainstream media that they like to critique. This is Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell.